Today is a big day. We are finally putting up our ceiling in our van.
We are James and Keli, and we are converting this Ram ProMaster into our tiny home so we can travel throughout the United States and South America with our 2 cats. We realized when looking at how to set up our ceiling that we were missing a couple of key elements. One of them being the front and back boards for our ceiling to attach to, because we want it to run all the way to the front, all the way to the back. So we added this board today on our headliner, and then we also added some boards on our back. This was our solution for the back of our van. We're using this pocket in here for wiring, so I didn't want to cover it with a board. So what we did, because both Keli and I did this, we cut blocks. Keli cut these blocks, and then we glued them in on the side so we still have access to the panel. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a piece of wood that will attach to these blocks and kind of bend on our roof, matching sort of what these frames do up top. That way our roof can go all the way and attach to this piece of wood. And Keli just showed me a picture of someone making this top part into a shelf, which both of us kind of really like, so we're thinking about also doing that now. This should be strong enough to hold up a shelf, but we might just need to add, you know, some things to help it come out.
That could be where our projector goes.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
We also had to take a look at our fans, because obviously the board can't go over our fan. It has to stop here, but it needs to attach to something to stop. So I have constructed a frame using pocket screws that I'm just going to attach between this frame and this one. And that way our ceiling can attach to it, and the box cover can attach to something as well that's firm. That's it for tonight. See you tomorrow.
To prep our ceiling, we are putting 2 coats of poly on either side of our cedar tongue and groove. That way, when we put it up onto our ceiling, whatever side is not visible is also going to be protected. This also makes it easier for us when we put it up. And then once we get it up onto the roof, we do plan to do a 3rd coat with just a wipe-on poly to make it all look kind of even. We're opting not to stain it and just going right to poly, because if you can see, the polyurethane just kind of brings out this really nice orangey color. It still gives it the natural wood look, but it blends really well with our flooring, and I think with the lighter color it kind of makes our van look a lot taller and a bit bigger, because we're going with a bit of a darker theme with our stain and our flooring. So I'm pretty happy with the way it's looking with just the top poly coat. Oh, cicada.
Cicada got you.
Ooh, it didn't touch me, it just scared me.
It's still underneath. It's right there.
Oh boy.
There it goes.
It's cicada season. What are you doing? Get away.
Finding a place.
That was a
Burr.
little scary. Okay, back to poly. Now that all of our ceiling boards have fully cured and they are dry after putting 2 coats of poly on both sides, I am going through and picking out our favorite boards that we want to be able to use the entire piece. So I'm looking for no holes in the board, no imperfections, no really rough edges of the tongue and groove, and making sure they're going to look nice and neat, because these are the boards that are going to be the most visible when walking into our van. After going through all the boards with James, we have 9 really great pieces that we shouldn't have to do any sort of cutting for. But we still have quite a bit of prepping we need to do in the van before we can put this on our ceiling.
The prep work we need to do for our ceiling is, 1, make sure all of our cords are secured correctly. The other thing that we're going to do is put up Easy Cool on our ceiling so that we have extra insulation and cover any of the gaps where the thin insulation is not covering. We have finished putting our Easy Cool up everywhere on our ceiling where there's gaps and there's metal, and it kind of feels like we're in a spaceship right now, but that's all right because now our ceiling is fully insulated and we're ready to move on to the next part, which is attaching all of our cables together that are meant for our lights. All of our lights are daisy chained together, so I need to now connect the ones that will connect to the lights. So I'm just stripping the outer protectant and putting on lever nuts, and then that way when we can put in our lights, all I have to do is attach in the wire, close it, and it's ready to go.
We've decided to call it a night. We needed to clean up the garage where we're storing everything and kind of tidy everything up so we can have more space for future projects that we are working on in the van. We also have to clean up the van because tomorrow we're taking it to the dealership because we somehow had their airbag light turn on and we need to go get it serviced and see what it's all about. So we'll pick up on our ceiling when we get the van back. We're back and we're ready to install our ceiling. The last time we worked on the van, we were installing our lever nuts for our wiring, and today we're actually going to put up our ceiling boards. To prepare our boards, we are chiseling out all of the grooves to make sure there's no poly in the middle of them. They'll make it harder to attach them together, and we're going to sand it one more time for 220. So once all the boards are up, we're going to do a wipe on poly so it all looks even.
We put our first board up on our ceiling to mark where all the cross furring strips are. That way we will know where to put all of our pilot holes in. For each screw that we put into our ceiling boards, we need to put a pilot hole and countersink it so our ceiling stays nice and flat. So now I'm going through and I've made a little jig.
James is wearing his shoes.
With shoes. I think these are the highest heel shoes that I have.
And
It's full. It's
like you got a couple inches.
I got
Can't
almost a fist.
Can't be doing any burpees or jumping jacks, but
Yeah, no jumping.
woo!
Next is where we're gonna just work our way out. We're gonna put the first 4 boards in, and then after that we're gonna have to be kind of mismatching how all the boards go in, and that doesn't really make sense right now, but it will once we start putting them all up. Let's get these first 4 in. This is the perfect. Four boards up. Lunch break. The rest of the boards on our ceiling are now going to be staggered. So what we're doing now is measuring from the ends to the middle of a furring strip and writing down that measurement, because that's where we're going to butt 2 boards together. The ends will come together right on a furring strip so we can connect it. And what we want to do is change the location of where the boards meet. That way they don't all come together at one point and it looks like a continuous ceiling.
I am getting ready to drill our first hole into our ceiling panels for our 12-volt lights. The lights that we bought from Amazon actually came with a hole saw with it, which is really nice, so we didn't have to go out and buy an extra tool just for these puck lights. And the size of our puck lights are the perfect size, so they can fit right in the middle of one of our boards, so we don't have to butt two up together to get that perfect center. I have put 2 boards underneath the ceiling panel, so that way we make sure we do not break this piece, because it is so thin. Our first light hole is cut. Now it'll fit perfectly right here. I can't wait. We're gonna have lights here soon.
Look at that.
Snug as a bug in a rug. Our first light. I can't wait to put these in, and then we can work at night. Woo! More boards to cut.
Had to put a notch in for our fan, so I just made a nice little notch right exactly where it needs to be. Man, that cedar smells good. Ooh, especially where the knots are. Get a whiff of that golden. That's gold.
I like it.
Pretty good.
Fun. Perfect.
All right, let's see if I nailed it. It's gonna stay in. Yep. Yep.
Looks good.
That's beautiful.
Well, we managed to get part of our middle done, and then we have a few more boards cut and ready to put up. We just need to add one more furring strip before we can add any more of our ceiling.
Yeah. We need to add a furring strip on the very back of our van. We have forgotten to do this, even though we have planned to do it
A lot.
A lot. I mean, we've prepared to do it several times, but never actually did it. So tomorrow we'll be putting just a strip of wood right on the back of our van so our ceiling can attach to it, and then we can finish our ceiling.
All right, well, we're going to see you tomorrow.
So, yeah.
Bye. We are back bright and early so that we can work on our ceiling and finish it off today.
The goal is to completely finish our ceiling so we can finally put up our upper cabinets that we have had finished for almost, 3 weeks now?
Yeah.
So
Quite a bit of time.
we're really excited to get the ceiling done, so let's get started.
Okay. And then that way we can finish up our ceiling.
These are the pieces that we'll be using to provide some framing for our ceiling here in the back. Early on, we put up these blocks up here. They're glued onto the metal, so they're really holding on there. Now what I'm doing is just putting another strip of wood that will be in line with this piece right here, and it just follows the angle of the roof down. When we check this with our straight edge following along with our roof, it fits perfectly, and the ceiling boards won't have to bend down or up or anything crazy. And now all of our ceiling will have an attachment point here in the back. Another thing that I did for these pieces of wood is I gave it an angle at the end, because as you can see in the corners of our van, it curves, it starts to curve. So there's these metal ridges that pop out, and in order to not hit those metal ridges, I gave it a nice curve to fit into the corner.
We are also attaching our puck lights, and since we've already prepped all of our wires with our lever nuts, all I have to do is cut back the protective wire using some electrical pliers, and just stick the negative into the lever nut that's negative, and then the positive with the positive.
I'm going through and marking all the pilot holes on our ceiling because I want all the screws to be symmetrical. I think it'll make our ceiling look that much nicer. So I'm just kind of taking a right edge and matching it with the screws before. We are not the perfect line, but that's okay as long as they're pretty close. I'm good with it because from a distance it'll look like they're in a line. So just mark it and then move on to the next line.
Kind of like how I mentioned on the first day we were working on our ceiling, we do not want our boards to be ending at the same exact spot throughout the van because we want it to look more blended in than just a straight line with a lot of screws. So what we've done is when we're measuring out our boards, we are cutting kind of right in the middle of our furring strip so there's contact point for both boards to be screwed in at the top. And it does mean that we're going to have 4 screws in that area, but because they're going to be so spread out, it's not as noticeable and it looks a bit more blended. Kind of like right here, we just have 4, but it's not noticeable because we kind of have like them all separated. Hung our last 2 lights, so we have a total of 8 lights in our van on 2 different switches. Our first 4 lights that'll be over our living space will be on one switch, and then the lights over our bed is going to be on a second switch. We have not tested to make sure that the lights actually work yet, but probably once we get the entire ceiling up, we will hook up a light switch to test it and see if it works. But I'm pretty happy that those are done now because now it's just simple-ish measurements to get it up and going, and we're almost done with our ceiling. Woo!
Beauty in the mundane, and as the light startled our eyes, we let go of disguise. Something in the air and a sparkly shimmer on our skin, restoring everything within. Oh.
We are coming down to the last few boards in our ceiling, and we kind of have a problem. We're running out of boards with really nice faces, but we have made up a plan. We do know where all of our cabinets are going in our van. So we've decided that all of the boards that have a bunch of knots or cracks in it, we're going to be putting where our cabinets go. And all the spaces that won't have cabinets, we're going to be putting the rest of the good faced boards. We're super close to being done. We've got like most of them cut already and planned out where everything is going. And so far this is looking great. One thing that is weird though is that now that we have a ceiling, we're getting an echo back in this van.
Yeah, James, I'm good at clapping.
You clap it out. No, see, I don't hear it.
I can hear it.
I think it's only in the front. Oh, there it goes. There it is.
Yeah, it's really... Oh, well, our fan is on, so maybe the fan has something to do with it. But it's getting echoey. Obviously, when we add more stuff, the echo should die down. But the ceiling looks so good. It's been a long day out in the sun, but we're almost done. I think we have 3, 6, 10 more boards. No, math's wrong. Wow, it's a long day. 8 more boards left. And yeah, 3, 6, 7, 8. 8 boards left. We only have 8 boards left. And then we're done for the night because we are going to work on the transition of how the ceiling meets the wall another day.
Perfect.
We're done. That echo. Holy cow. We have a finished ceiling, kind of. We still have to do both sides where it transitions into our walling, but we're gonna save that for another day because it's 7:20 and we need to eat dinner. I also have to teach classes in the morning. So.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. We are back out in the van today, and today's project is figuring out how our ceiling is going to blend into our wall. And so what we're looking at is how it's going to blend in with our cabinets and how it's going to come down right here, which is over our bed, where there'll be no cabinets. Right now, I'm thinking that I'm just going to cut a board in half, literally in half, and it'll fit perfectly kind of on both ends. We have about 1.5 inches of space that we need to fill. But then I also want to figure out how we're going to fill this space. We think that we want to use our ceiling boards right here as well, and it'll kind of just like come down. Boom. Don't even need screws.
We finished putting up all of the half pieces on both the driver's and passenger side. Passenger side is fully done. We just needed to add 2 pieces because the whole passenger side is going to have upper cabinets. This side, though, we are going to be blending the ceiling into the wall, so the ceiling is going to come down a little bit more instead of the wall coming up.
Right now we're putting up this angled piece first, and then we will do the ceiling piece, because the ceiling piece will kind of hold in and blend into the angle. We want to make sure that this piece is even or kind of straight with our bed inlet. That way when we put walling down, there won't look like it's coming down or up. So I'm going to make sure and measure from our bed inlet that this is the same distance all the way across. We're able to put up the 2 angled boards today, and all of our sides except for this one right here. We've ran out of time today, but we're going to work on it tomorrow. For this piece, I just need to get the width of here and cut at an angle to where it lays flat on this piece of wood. But that'll be tomorrow's project, so we'll see you then.
After a fun morning of playing pickleball with some friends, we're back at it in our van to finish up the ceiling. Before we actually had to take it to the mechanic because our radiator is leaking.
Yeah, so we have some repairs already, even though we have barely driven this van, which is not fun, but they need to be done.
Yeah. Today's project, before we take it to the mechanic, is James is finishing getting the angle on our ceiling.
We're finishing this one piece up here on our ceiling. I'm trying to get the perfect angle along the edge of a board. So we can fit it up there nice and flush.
Okay.
And then we're ready to take it to the mechanic. I'll be using the table saw to cut these boards down. I'll first cut them to the width that they need to be, and then I'm going to be using this piece that I've cut at a 30-degree angle to be a guard for the board, and I will press it along the table saw. I'm using this piece of wood that I've cut at 30 degrees because I need to make an angle on the edge that's greater than 45. My table saw only cuts to a 45-degree angle, so in order to go above that, I need to use an angled guard. Yeah. So putting it up, you can see that this is what it's gonna look like, and it does just look like a perfect transition from our ceiling into this side panel where we're gonna have a wall. This is the only spot that we need it because the rest of them are going to be cabinets. But yeah, it looks very good. It's just a nice smooth transition If you look from this side, you can see what I mean. The angle sits nice and flush with the wall, making it a seamless transition. We have come up with a solution for this piece right here, because as you can see, it's not really sticking. So what we're going to do is use some construction adhesive on the inside of this groove to stick it to the wall to make sure it's nice and flush. And in order to make sure it sticks, we're also going to be putting a brad nail through a couple pieces. And hopefully this works and it sticks up here and we won't destroy the wood with the brad nails, but we don't really have another option. This is probably like the best that we can do to fix the issue. Our piece is up and it fits really flush now. The brad nails and glue definitely did its job. You can tell that it kind of like dips down and up a little bit, but it's not really noticeable unless you stare at it, and it really looks good. It looks like a good transition from the ceiling to this wall. Now we're on to our final steps of this ceiling, which is fixing any of the screws that are poking out. We need to make the countersink hole a little bit bigger. And then we're going to put a nice coat of rub-on poly on the entire ceiling. And then we're going to put our ceiling fan covers on.
We have a lot of fans going because it is hot and humid today, so I hope you can hear me over our Max Air fan and a nice industrial fan going. But for our fan, we are going to cut out this plastic cover that came with our Max Air fans. And how we're going to do it is we will push this all the way up as far as it'll go. I'm just going to mark right where the plastic and the wood meet. Then what we'll do, since if you can tell, that depth is a lot more than the lower depth. So we're going to measure this area and then we're going to cut that measurement below. I hope that makes sense. The visual is going to be a lot better of explaining it, but we're just going to measure this part and cut there. You can either do it the way I just showed you, or if you have a straight edge right angle that's thin enough to put up into the crevice, you could also just put it up there and just see the measurement to where you need to cut. So it's just a little bit over 3 1/4 or a little under 3 1/4, and that's the amount that James is going to cut. And if it is too big, he'll just make adjustments as needed. As James works on cutting the Max Air Fan plastic trim, I'm going to be polying. We're just using the Miniwax wipe-on poly. This has actually came in handy a lot because we're also using it for our upper cabinets and all the cabinetry where it's not as easy to get a brush into.
Shiny.
Nice and shiny. Woo! This is gonna be an arm workout. All right.
So it looks like while you're cutting it as well, the blade's heating up the plastic a lot and it'll melt back together. You might have to rip it apart when you're done. But yeah, I've got this now cut. One side, I'm gonna go ahead and sand a little bit of the edges to make them nice and smooth and get rid of all this extra plastic.
to misplace the screws that came with the fans with all of the stuff we've been doing. So we're just going to use our 3/4 inch wood screws that we used to put in all of our tongue and groove. It works just the same, and they are countersunk, so it's going to be flush with it. So we put our fan trims on. Last thing we have to do is let the poly dry, and then we'll put all of our light caps back in, and our ceiling is done. We are now going to test all of our furniture that we've made. They're not fully complete, but we have our sink carcass, our stove carcass, and part of our couch done. And we're gonna see what it looks like in our van. First up, our couch, part of it. This is our stove cabinet. Okay. This is our sink cabinet.
There's so much room.
We do. There is so much room. Oh my goodness. We'll have another couch right here. Like, so it'll be a nice L. Oh,
Perfect height.
This is our home. This is what our sketch is coming into reality. I hope our cats love it as much as we do. And we also have 3 upper cabinets done too, but we obviously can't put those up because they would fall. Our ceiling is finished! Yay! I'm so happy.
Our ceiling was a quick and easy process.
It wasn't easy.
It was close to being easy.
It was straightforward.
It was very straightforward. Yeah.
I am super excited for all of our projects to come because now is the official time for us to install cabinetry. We have been working not only on our ceiling during this time, but we also have our upper cabinets finished, our sink and stove carcass done, and like, we're so close to being ready to live in this van.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to check out our entire van build series, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye!